Dave, again, we're going to talk about World War III, and I want to share something. Being on talk radio and basically, I guess, being on a lot of it, I used to do 3 hours a day for years, and then I was on other people's shows and stuff. But I had the blessing of meeting Sam Cohen, the inventor of the neutron bomb. And what he told me, the original development of the neutron bomb was so that, and with a high altitude burst, it would kill people. Now, that doesn't sound very good, but not damage infrastructure. In other words, it would not leave a lingering radiation in the air. Fallout is what particulate matter that becomes irradiated. And in essence, the neutron intense bombardment kills living things, but it doesn't destroy through flash and blast everything like a fission or a fusion bomb does. Dave, on my radio show, he mentioned, and this was in probably 95, 96, somewhere in there, first couple of years of my show, that he was present when George Bush, former senior, turned over to the Chinese the neutron bomb. Now, when the Chinese use a neutron bomb, remember, they own a lot of West Coast real estate. So when people say to me, well, they're not going to do that, they're going to blow up their own investment. They're simply going to take the tenants of the property they believe they own out with neutron weapons. Neutron weapons kill by intense neutron bombardment and leave the infrastructure intact. To my knowledge, nobody is making that claim or statement except you and I say that no matter what day this plays out, because, Dave, we're living from one extreme event to another. We're seeing the provocation of the Ukraine against Russia. We're seeing Chinese generals talking about sinking 2 carriers in the South China Sea to send a message to the United States, don't mess with our area, our territory. You're seeing new weapons developments from hypersonic missiles that cannot be intercepted to new microwave weapons that can be used against the civilian population that can make your skin not crawl but burn. We're seeing advanced lasers being fronted. We're seeing aerial phenomenon. We're seeing, and by the way, I categorically reject the idea that all these, quote, are shooting stars and comets and asteroids. If they have erratic or horizontal trajectory, it is most likely a weapon either being launched or intercepted. You know what I'm talking about, Dave? All the stuff that's on the internet? Yeah. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. At what point, and I believe it's in God's hands, I really do, at what point, and based on what he shared with me, and whether you believe this or not, please just put it in the back of your mind and say, you know, ask God, Lord, are you going to allow Russia and China to take out the United States? Because a country, you know, this is a famous statement, Dave, a country can withstand its enemies from without, but it cannot withstand them from within and without. All the highest offices in our land are compromised. Treason, the most advanced weapon systems we own, the most advanced state-of-the-art, even the ones that were on the drawing board, it's all being given over and literally sold over, traded out, and again, by people who are guilty of treason. And the whole controlled narrative against Donald Trump is the fact to just take the heat off of what those guys have done. You see, here's the tragedy. The previous administration, under the Prince of Darkness, the entity in the White House, and I call him that, and I'm serious, pretty much destroyed the military, pretty much traded out our technology. And obviously, remember everybody when Iran was an enemy of the United States, gave them $150 billion, and Congress knew about it, said nothing about it, maybe made a little noise, but then they won't give $5 million for a border wall. Well, now we've got the issue, Dave, don't we? We have all of the reports from Mexico, which, by the way, I stand by my reports. You stand by your reports. We've got the situation in Canada now where not so true took some dough, and basically now he's gone totally Islamic. He's persecuting Christians. He's, what would you say, lifting up Islam. We've got all the secret treaties between the Canadian government, the Russians, and the Chinese. Same thing with the Mexicans. Preposition men, material, and supplies. And so we are in a how do I say this, a period that is the perilous word that's described in the New Testament isn't accurate it's not that it's not accurate, it isn't understood in contemporary times or events and how dangerous these times are. There are so many things taking place. And it's interesting, Dave. Have you ever had, this is just a question I've had, our websites are messed with more than you can even imagine. Have you ever had anybody who's ever complained to you or consistently complained, ever even send $100 to say, go hire somebody to troubleshoot your site? Ladies and gentlemen, when you complain to me, I'm sorry, I know that some of you can't access my site. My site is on so many people's bad lists that I wonder, and I do. I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, or actually when I go to sleep in the middle of the night, wake up early in the morning and say, Lord, is this the day? When I ask the Lord that, He knows what I mean. I'll share it with you. Is this the day that my site goes dark for good? That's not a threat. I was praying, Dave, and I think I told you this. Lord, when do I take my site down? And He said, you won't have to. That decision will be made for you. In other words, I leave it with this. So we're at World War III. There's so much stuff that's being told. Listen, I don't think people understand one thing. There was so much to be gained, and this is not I love Russia statement. There was so much to be gained by the Russians and the West getting along together. But you know why, Dave. You and I both know why the Democrats had to mess with that, and the Republican traitors had to do that too, is because of the complicity in selling out America's, stockpile of uranium, and also all the technology transfers that took place. Anybody wants to know about Bill Clinton, look up Loral Satellite Corporation. LORAL Satellite Corporation. Now you've got the Chinese with bigger antennas, and I tell people, I told them this years ago, and I am on record saying it, you do not understand the Chinese mindset if you are a Westerner without understanding the technology of the Chinese empire over thousands of years. They have invented everything, from gunpowder to seismographs, toothbrushes. You can go on and on and on, but also water wheels, water generators. I mean, such fascinating technology. And now they have the crown jewels. I asked General, and I'll just use his initials. I said, General C. I said, are you telling me that the guys that ran this country gave them everything? And I said Now, when I say everything, General, I mean there's nothing more they could have gotten except that which maybe hasn't been made public on an instantaneous invention. And he said, Steve, when I say everything, he said, I mean the crown jewels. So the point is that why am I saying that? Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's the hand of the living God, the mercy of the living God's promise to His people to try and articulate to you, not to scare you, and I want to drive people to their knees in prayer. I want people to understand that God hears the prayers of His people, but I want to also understand something, that sin in this country, the wickedness in this country, the blood of the innocents, the blood of the slaughtered children, the human sacrifice, the human carnage, all of that which is being destroyed, devoured, cannibalized, eaten, and absolutely horrifically dismembered, disfigured, and done away with. That's all the image and likeness of God. And I've asked the Lord, here's my question before the Lord, Lord, how long, O God, will you not arise and make your presence known? Because here's the promise in the Scripture. When God's judgments are in the land, people learn righteousness. And unfortunately, Dave, that they just won't learn it any other way. So we are in a perilous situation. Nobody talks about the tens of thousands of spies or the we used to do it. Remember, you did stories on it. You wrote articles on it. And all the people, and I remember telling people years ago, and it came to me in a flash because Dmitry Duduman, when he laid out the Third World War, when Russia would attack the United States and China, he was showing two countries that he couldn't remember that would be joining a confederacy against us, and one of them was France, and the other one was Germany. And now you see that the United States took all Germany's gold, and you see the situation with Angela Merkel being the jihad queen. Those are my words. And all of the secret occultists. So it boils down to this: whether you believe that the Mazzini letter from Albert Pike is real or not, somebody believes it's real because they're turning the Muslims against Christians, Jews, and the Muslims are in a jihad. Islam cannot tolerate any other expression of religion by the tenets of their faith. And by the way, the man who makes the statement, who's the truest speaking Muslim, in my opinion, that's not to say his motives are good, but Erdogan said there is no such thing as peaceful Islam. That's coming from a man whose country murdered how many millions of Armenian Christians? Millions? So I think everybody's got to basically suck it up and say, okay, who is going to defend the United States? There's going to be no one coming to our aid. So here's the deal. People will say to me, well, you sound like it's pretty much over. I said, it is, but your life isn't, and your purpose in God isn't, and God has a way of protecting you as he did Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego if you're believing him for it. Because what's going to turn America, Dave? What's going to turn America? You and I just laid out a case of evidence, and maybe we don't have the true number of people that believe what's going on. And if even the number of people that believe what's going on is 10%, you're still down to the 2 to 3% that are saying anything, acting anything, or doing anything. And your dad, and you know what he told you, advanced weapon systems are literally, and I'll say this, out of the dimension.